What if the biggest problem in your business is not what's broken, but what you haven't noticed yet? Not the thing keeping you up at night, not the fire you're putting out this week, not the customer complaint, the employee issue, the overdue invoice, or the marketing post that flopped. What if the real issue is something quieter than that? What if the biggest threat to your growth is the money you should be making, but aren't? The opportunities you should be seeing, but you're missing. The systems you should have in place, and you keep meaning to fix that, but you'll do it later when you have time. About the conversations you should be having, but keep avoiding because there's just too much going on. So busy. That is what this show is about. Hello, and welcome to Profit on the Table. I am Jane Parmel, and this show is for business owners who are working hard, doing a lot right, and still feeling like something is not clicking the way it should. Maybe the business looks decent. From the outside, business looks good. Maybe revenue is coming in. Maybe clients are saying yes. You have people in the seats coming through your door. Maybe the team is busy. Maybe people are even telling you, wow, you're doing great. And yet, you know, there's more there. There's more profit, more ease, more clarity, more consistency, more control, more growth that actually feels good instead of chaotic, adding to what's already a headache. This podcast is for service-based businesses, family-run businesses, founders, owners, and leaders who suspect they're leaving more on the table than they realize. And that's not because they're lazy. It's not because they're incapable. It's not because they don't care enough, but because in business, effort and profitability are not the same thing. And that's probably the toughest pill for a lot of owners to swallow. Bring it back, bring it back, bring it back, bring it back. I wanted to create this show because I've worked with enough business owners to know that most of them are not failing from a lack of hustle. They're exhausted from the hustle. They're stretched thin. They're wearing too many hats. They're making decisions on the fly, not even background searching, anything. They're solving today's problems while tomorrow's opportunities are slipping quietly right out the back door. I know I was one of them. And the strangest part is that many of them are incredibly capable. They're smart, they're talented, they really care deeply about their clients, about their business. They know their craft. They know how to make those things that people want or the services they need. They've really built something real. But somewhere along the way, the business became a machine that eats attention and all of it. And when that happens, that's when a business owner, you, stop seeing clearly. You stop noticing what you're undercharging for. You stop noticing which services are draining your margin instead of adding to it. You stop noticing which team issues are costing you productivity. You stop noticing where referrals are being lost. You stop noticing how often you're saying yes to things that actually do not move your business forward. A lot of businesses are not in trouble because they are doing too little. They're just doing way, way, way too much. They're in trouble because they're doing too many of the wrong things. And when you're in the middle of it, it can feel normal. That's the sneaky part. It feels like another day at work. The leak then becomes the wallpaper. You don't even notice it. The inefficiency becomes routine. The underpricing becomes, well, this is how we do it. The lack of structure becomes, we're just busy right now. The missed opportunity becomes, you know what, maybe we'll get to it next quarter. It'll come up again. This show exists to help you spot what has become invisible. So let's talk about what I mean by profit on the table, because I don't just mean revenue. It's not all about the money. It's not all about cutting costs and bringing in more money. When I say profit on the table, I mean all the ways a business is not fully capturing the value it's already creating. Yeah, sometimes it's financial. You're underpriced. You're discounting too quickly in the course of conversation, desperate to just get the sale. You're offering too much in your packages. You're not upselling or downselling or cross selling. You're not following up. You're not asking for the referral. You are not packaging your expertise in the most profitable way you could. But sometimes profit on the table, it's not just about the money, it's sometimes about leadership on the table. Owners carrying way too much weight on them. The team is unclear, the expectations are muddy, so no one knows what to do. The communication is reactive instead of proactive. The business can't grow because everything still depends on one person remembering every single thing. Sometimes it is operational profit on the table. There's too much rework, too many people doing the same things, too many dropped balls, too much time spent chasing information or customers, too many manual tasks that should be systemized, too many things living in someone's head, one person's head, the business owner's head, instead of in a process. And sometimes it's about relationship profit on the table. Past customers, those who would gladly come back if anyone checked in. Referral partners who are willing to help, but they don't know how to. They don't know what you need because you haven't told them. Connections that could be collaborations, contracts, introductions, speaking opportunities, or strategic alliances, but not a thing is being nurtured. Money left out, an opportunity. And sometimes it's opportunity on the table. A business owner has the credibility, the experience, and the trust, but they haven't translated that into new offers, smarter positioning, stronger marketing, or even a bigger footprint for their business. Profit on the table is not just lost money. It's lost capacity, it's lost confidence, it's lost momentum, and lost opportunity. And that is why this matters so much. So let's start with one of the biggest culprits, pricing. So many business owners are uncomfortable charging what they are worth. They price from fear. They price from comparison. So my competitors are charging. That's what I have to charge. They price from what do you think, what somebody will say yes to instead of what does it actually take to deliver this well and profitably, whatever the service or product is. And then they wonder why they're busy but not building wealth. If your pricing is too low, you don't just make less money, you create pressure everywhere else on the system that you have. You need more customers, you need more volume, you need more effort, you need more hours in the day. That's not going to happen. You need to say yes more often and more quickly and without the consequence, without thinking about the consequence. You leave less room for excellence because margin is what gives you the breathing room. Low pricing has a way of making a business look really busy while inside it's starving very quietly. Then there's leadership. A lot of owners think that the issue is that their team's not stepping up. They're not working hard enough. Well, sometimes that's true. But often the bigger issue is that the business has not built the kind of clarity that allows their team people to succeed. If expectations are vague, accountability gets really weird. If roles are blurry, things get missed because everybody thinks everybody else is doing it. If communication only happens when something goes wrong, people operate defensively. If the owner still acts like the hub for every single decision, the business cannot scale. Leadership is not just inspiration. Leadership is structure. And structure is not cold. Structure is kind. It's being kind to your team. It's being kind to your customers. It's being kind to your future self. And then there are the operations. This is the part of business that many people ignore because it's not the glamorous part. Nobody posts on social media, guess who made a clean workflow today? Nobody's going to do that. Sorry. But operations are where the money is, where it's protected or leaked, one or the other. Bad handoffs cost money. Poor systems cost money. Inconsistency in their service costs money. Lack of a follow-up is a big one that costs money. And here's the huge one. Not knowing your numbers costs money. Doing everything manually because no one ever stopped to create a process costs money. Listen, you don't need to be a giant company to benefit from better operations. Everybody can benefit from that, regardless of the size. You just need to stop treating chaos like it's another personality trait you have. And then there's the big one that doesn't get talked about enough. There's relationships. We lose some along the way when we're business owners. Many businesses are sitting on a gold mine of goodwill they will never activate. They have happy customers who are never asked for testimonials. They have loyal customers who are never offered the next thing. They have colleagues who would refer them, but nobody's made the clear ask. They never told them what they need. They have community connections, professional contacts, strategic partners who could open doors for the business owner, but the relationships are still sitting in neutral. Nobody's curating them. Some of the best growth doesn't come from finding strangers. It comes from better stewarding the trust you already have, keeping those customers happy. That's the quieter kind of profit leak, but it is huge. Here's what I want to challenge, something that a lot of business owners have been taught. We've been taught that if the business is not where we want it to be, the answer is work harder, put in more hours. You have to give more effort, push yourself harder, make more sacrifices. I'm the boss. I'll wear every hat. I'll do it all myself. More doing things yourself because you think it's faster while it's really not. More white knuckling your way through the week. Am I going to be able to pay my bills and payroll? But hard work is not a strategy, and hustle is not a substitute for visibility. You can't outwork a weak model. You can't out hustle poor visibility, and you cannot grind your way into clarity. You have to take a step back and look. At some point, growth requires a shift from reacting to seeing. Seeing the patterns that exist, seeing the bottlenecks of which you might be one, seeing what's missing, seeing those gaps, seeing the habits that are costing you, seeing where the business is performing in ways that look acceptable on the surface, but are actually holding you back. That is one of the reasons I love having this conversation so much, because once people can see it, everything starts to change. When they can see where the issues are, they can start to get ready for change. And it doesn't happen overnight. It's not magic. It's not a silver bullet. It's built on awareness. And awareness is powerful because it changes how you can make your decisions. When you see where the money is leaking, you can stop guessing. It gets a lot more comfortable. When you see where leadership is weak, you stop personalizing every issue. It's not all about you. When you see where the process is breaking down, you stop blaming the wrong thing. People, places, things, product, service. When you see where growth is hiding, you stop waiting for a miracle, that huge client walking in the door, that next contract. You start leading with intention instead of adrenaline. And that changes everything. So, what can you expect from Profit on the Table? You can expect real conversations about the business places that owners lose momentum, margin, and opportunity without even realizing it's going out the door. We're going to talk about pricing. We're going to talk about profit leaks. We're going to talk about the gaps. We're going to talk about team dynamics, systems, follow-ups, decision-making, referrals, positioning, leadership, networking, and the hidden costs of doing business on autopilot, your own autopilot. Some episodes will be strategic. Some will be practical. Some will challenge the way you've been thinking. We'll have people in to tell you what's worked for them and what's not worked for them, what they've had to do to change things in their own business and their own lives to get ahead, to get to the next level. Some will probably make you laugh a little or a lot. Then you'll sit back in your chair and say, well, that one hit a nerve, whatever the topic might be. And that's good, because that means we found something useful. So this is not a show about pretending business is easy, because it certainly isn't. It's not a show about fluffy inspiration with no substance. And it's definitely not a show that assumes the answer is always just do more marketing, work a little harder, put more hours in. Sometimes the issue is marketing. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes you can't put any more work in. Sometimes the issue is that the business is built on habits that no longer support the level you're trying to reach. When you're trying to get ahead, you can't keep doing the same things that got you to the first level. This show is about helping you spot that. Because once you can identify where profit, time, trust, clarity, and opportunity are being left on the table, you can start picking it back up and create the life you want from your business. And that's exciting. Not because it means you need to become someone else, but because it means the next level may already be closer than you think. So, if you're listening today and you're thinking, yep, this is me, and admit it, it is. I know I'm working hard, but I also know there are things that I am not seeing. Then first, understand one thing. You're not alone. Been there, done that. T-shirt, souvenirs, the whole 9 yards. So many business owners are carrying more than they should, tolerating more than they need to, and leaving more on the table than they realize. But that can change. The goal is not just to build a business that survives your effort. It's really to build one that rewards your value. A business that's profitable. Yep, a business that's profitable, but also clear, intentional, better led, better positioned, better supported, and more capable of growing without draining the life out of you. That's what we're going to explore here on Profit on the Table. So, I'm going to tell you, if this episode hit home, make sure you subscribe, share it with another business owner that might need a little bit of, a little shot in the arm to know they're not alone, and connect with me to explore where your business may be leaving growth on the table. Because chances are the biggest opportunity in your business is not out there somewhere. It's already closer than you think. You just have to be willing to see it. Thank you for being here again for episode 1. I really appreciate everybody listening. I am Jane Parmel, and I'll see you next time. Profit on the Table.